Exercise 128. He who wished to become a fluent speaker must first of all be capable of making a speech, semicolon, but it is a somewhat sad fact that some people are naturally incapable of expressing their thoughts verbally. Full stop. It is no abuse of language, however, to state that even nature may be overcome and the taciturn person may acquire such fluency as to surprise his friends by his eloquence. Full stop. Such fluency as to surprise his friends by his eloquence. Full stop. It is only necessary to recall the character of Demosthenes and how they developed the characteristic of a great orator to prove that this is so. Full stop. It is especially essential that familiarization with details of the subject be acquired beforehand, otherwise a mortgage is placed on the chances of success by an insufficiency of facts when a sufficiency would probably mean unqualified success. Full stop. With the precision of a mathematician, he should marshal his facts, familiarize himself with apt illustrations to establish them, and keep in view the immediate purpose of his speech. Full stop. Then there are certain gestures which can be suited to circumstances with mathematical accuracy. Full stop. But these should be as far removed as possible from merely mechanical action. If the maximum results are to be attained. Full stop. Some fail to govern themselves in this matter and thus extinguish the possibility of being effective. Full stop. Further, a homely and familiar style should be cultivated and adopted as occasion requires. Full stop. The efficient cultivation of the voice should receive special attention. Full stop. Unfortunately, it is too often ignored or treated with but insufficient consideration by those who do not recognize its expediency. Full stop. Exercise 129. At the meeting of the directors today, it was stated that the rates of exchange in January and February were favorable to manufacturers in this country. Full stop. Regarding the matter of expediency, to discuss which the meeting was primarily called, it was thought that the plans suggested might prove very expensive and cause endless trouble in arranging the necessary mortgage. Full stop. The chairman, John S. a commercial magnate, is a very capable mathematician and he carries out all his business with mathematical exactitude. Full stop. He is hoping that the mechanical efficiency of the establishment may be sufficient to check any unnecessary expenditure during the coming year. Full stop. No man is more familiar to the members of the exchange than he, and his speeches at social functions are noted for their humor, while his placid manner in a characteristic which compels the admiration of all. Full stop. He is possessed of great personal magnetism, and it is due undoubtedly to his ability that the company has an almost unassailable position which has surprised those who are engaged in a similar manufacture. Full stop. Exercise 130. Ministers of the Crown have various duties to perform on behalf of their government. Full stop. One is at the exchequer, controlling the financial business of the country, and looking into matters of expenditure and in his work he has often to meet criticism from the wealthy classes, from leaders of commerce and from manufacturers because he seeks to tax the commodities they manufacture or import. It is in the months of January, February, and March that he begins to think of his budget for the coming financial year. Another is exchanging views with foreign powers, and it is necessary that he maintains an imperturbable manner under all circumstances and displays a broad spirit in his views. A third is maintaining the impregnable state of our coast, are considering the inefficiency of our navy, which is very expensive, and formulating plans for making it more efficient. A fourth has to deal with the treatment of prisoners who are confined for offences of various kinds, and though he may be a kindly man, he must not be swayed by false motives in the discharge of his duties. A fifth is concerned with the health of metropolitan and other areas throughout the land. In addition to all this, such ministers are cross-examined in the parliament, and the result of such cross-examination depends very largely on the personal magnetism of the holder of the office. Exercise number 131. The new book of essays by a member of the government contains some very worthy sayings, inverted commas, begin, a person of character is incapable of a mean action, and is able to govern himself under all circumstances. We cannot be wise men unless we familiarize ourselves, and sympathize with human nature. Our familiarization with new sense and new people show us the insufficiency of our education. Inverted commas, close. In the immediate future, we expect to see the author at the head of the cabinet. In dealing with the charge against the prisoner, the metropolitan magistrate for the maximum sentence after a close cross-examination of the offender, and after several witnesses had been cross-examined, and despite the fact that the petitioner's action had been governed by financial troubles over which he had no control. The magistrate is a man of wide taste and is one of the prime movers in our agriculture show, and he is regarded as an authority on most matters relating to the land. His model form is a splendid example of scientific farming, and it is a source of amazement to the farmers in the district who are mostly satisfied with seeking for the best results by empirical methods. Exercise number 132. During the winter months, the committee of our institute organized a number of lectures, to each of which there is as chairman a well-known representative of local industries. Some of the committee are in favor of having subjects which allow only a one style of treatment. Our late secretary resigned because he thought that the committee neglected good opportunities of enlightening the public on some debatable topics which was discoursed upon by irresponsible individuals, somewhat ill-informed, and who were interested in the propagation of certain principles without any regard for the sensibilities of others. We regret that he should have thus relinquished duties which he has performed in a most disinterested manner, and we certainly think that such topics will have to be incorporated in our program, or we shall be guilty of a serious negligence, and lose a connection which may be irrecoverable. Exercise 133. In November last, we had a lecture on electricity, and the chairman, in a very interesting speech said he remembered the time when people were afraid of traveling by electric train or tram and regarded an investment in electrical undertaking as very unwise indeed. He had some anecdotes to tell of the life of the lecturer, who formerly represented his native town in the parliament, but who formerly represented his native town in parliament, but owing to being so irregular in his attendance at Westminster, he had to resign his seat. Although a man was never better qualified for the work, several times he had complained of the want of independence of members, showed much indignation at the humiliating position in which he was often placed, and looked upon the routine work of parliament as very uninteresting. Among other things, one of which was a story of his escapades. When a boy, the chairman mentioned that in his youth the lecturer was very regular in his attendance at the local technical school, and gained several certificates for science subjects. On the representation of his tutor, a clever man who was responsible for the organization of a large electrical company, the governing director of which was a member of the automobile club, the lecturer specialized in electricity, and now he was one of the foremost lecturers of the day, and considered a first-class organizer of electrical exhibition. Exercise number 134. Great interest in the manifested in the electric appearance at the local exhibition, the capable organizer of which is very enthusiastic in following the development of electricity and all electrical reliances. Our representative on the council is responsible for the negligence of the reform, and our committee is of the unanimous opinion that in the future its support cannot be given to one who has shown so much neglect of his duties, and it purposes nominating another and a better candidate for the November elections. Yesterday, the investment was sanctioned by those interested in the improvement of the association, and it was hoped that its previous position would soon be recoverable. When the association becomes incorporated, its certificate should be recognized by all similar organizations, some of which have shown considerable opposition towards it, and delayed an inexcusable temper when the committee refused to relinquish the policy formulated several weeks ago. Exercise number 135. The lecture said electricity is in evidence and everywhere, and today it is an indispensable factor in the life of a progressive people. Despite the constant and enthusiastic efforts of electricians, the exact nature of electricity is unknown. Among the reforms for which science is responsible, none has been more singularly beneficial to the race than the application of electricity to the needs of mankind. The reformer is known turning his attention to domestic duties which are undergoing a revolution in the hands of the electrical engineer. Certainly, the reformation is very slow, and it is very unfortunate that housewives in this country should show some opposition to methods of electric cooking for staff. Of electric cookers, he could not speak too enthusiastically, they do not fluctuate in temperature, the result obtained yesterday will be obtained today, if the same conditions are imposed for staff. He spoke of the sensibility of electric waves in the air and of the various methods of producing electricity, which was far from being uniform, and gave a wonderful account of the generating of electricity by the force of water for staff. All was unanimous in their praise of the lecture for staff. Exercise number 136. There was a unanimity of opinion by all the reformers present that organized playgrounds were indispensable in the education of children, and it was resolved to make a representation of children, and it was to the council and to ask it to introduce uniformity in this matter throughout the county for staff. This resolution was singularly unfortunate, as it was the cause of friction between these individuals and the council for staff. Regular subscriptions to the institution showed arrogance at the irregular practices, and many informed the board that they would withdraw their support if such irresponsible actions were allowed contrary to all the teachings of the past for staff. We fear that no disinterested person was the informer in this matter, and probably he represented the circumstances to be more serious than they really are for staff. The resignation of the secretary, however, will be demanded, as his